Normally, the cornerbacks for the Jets don't travel. They traveled last week. Do you expect Sauce to follow Adams?
Yeah, well, let me explain what Jacoby means by that. Sometimes cornerbacks only play one side of the field,
Right, yep.
And that's typically how the Jets did it. They would never allow Sauce Gardner to travel to the other side of the field for a matchup. They did it last week. Now, they did a great job last week. It's the worst offensive performance for the Chargers all year and the worst for Justin Herbert from a standpoint of passing. So I'm assuming that we can expect that now. And that's not a knock on DJ Reed, who's the cornerback on the other side of the field from Sauce Gardner. But Sauce Gardner obviously is really good, as is DJ.
Sure.
But I was surprised to see them do it only because we talked to Robert Sala about it when he was on our show, and they don't do it.
No. Yeah.
They've never done it, much like they're not a big blitzing team. You know, they play a lot of man-to-man. They play handsy a lot. They teach it. So the fact that they departed from their norm, I actually give Ulbrich, their defensive coordinator, credit for it because the Chargers didn't know it was coming. Not that you change your game plan necessarily on it, because you have great wide receivers as well. So my expectation now, maybe not every time, but that there will be moments where Davante's on the left side and Sauce is with him. Davante's on the right side, Sauce is with him. If I'm the Raiders, I want to see what the Jets do if I put Davante Adams in the slot. Or if I have Davante Adams running a lot of motion into his route, because I think the Jets didn't have to almost zone that up as opposed to letting one guy try to cover him if he's on the move.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed Davante Adams took the politically nice way out. Like, I would have loved to see him kind of rally or start some junk so this team can be motivated by the trash talk.
Well, don't forget, he's got Aiden O'Connell as his quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
But I hope the Jets learned their lessons from what happened to them against Dallas, right? When CD let him pretty much lit him up because they continued to play zone and didn't do anything out of. Like, Davante Adams will eat them up in the zone. They have to play man. They're going to have to blitz because right now, Valid, their front four, was able to kind of knock around Herbert. But Aiden O'Connell, you got to really get after this kid. If you got an opportunity to beat a kid who doesn't have a lot of playoff experience, any experience in the NFL, get after him, man. Blitz.
I think they're going to be in that kid's kitchen all night.
Yeah, you have to. I hope they do. I hope they don't play this zone where they sit back and allow Davante sit and kind of because that's easy throws.
I would say before you get to second of football, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
If I'm the New York Jets, it's nonstop pressure because I don't care who you are. You're in your second ever game in the NFL. My job is just to make you uncomfortable. If you could just show a freeze frame, though, there's one thing that stood out to me on the Davante Adams press conference right there, which obviously is out in Las Vegas. You got to love the sponsorship. That's all I'm saying is I don't even know what it is.
Intermountain Health, I think it's a dispensary.
On the heels of the Atlanta Hawks only fans, you got to love the sponsorship.
Sounds like a dispensary.
I'm Googling it now.
It's a dispensary. It's a dispensary.
I know it is. What's second in football?
Moving on to second in football. I mean, Stroud has been red hot. He's going to stay hot against the Bengals.
Look, I think we've now come to a realization that Stroud's really good. They trust him, and they're not afraid of him, dropping back 30 times a game, which I expect that they're going to do. The other side of the Stroud story, to be fair, while he's having this great year, and of course last week, damn near threw for 500 yards, which is why he's getting all the extra attention this week, they're still a 500 football team. Like, they're good. They're, for sure, overachieving what a lot of us thought they were going to do, but they're not 6-2. Like, they're 500 in a bad division. So my expectation is that Cincinnati tries to do what we just said the Jets are going to try to do against Aiden O'Connell, and that is make him feel uncomfortable. And let's pressure the kid. Can he make throws on the run? Can he convert third and longs? And that's what I would do. I'm just trying to figure out who Mike Hilton is, to be honest.
That's good DC.
Like when we
ex-Steeler, by the way.
When we played Bengal press conferences, it's Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase,
Zach Taylor.
Maybe you get a Higgins or Boyd in there.
That's a smart organization.
Right. All of a sudden,
put everybody on the mic.
I got a camera right in the face of some dude I never heard of before. But look.
But I would say this: when I watch this interview, he does not have a cornerback face.
Is there a cornerback face?
Yes, that is a linebacker face.
Okay, they're a little more. They always got an even Steven. They kind of shaped up really nice. Yeah, I guess.
He's been punched before.
Yeah, by far. Yeah.
Anyhow, look, I think you're talking about arguably. I know the Jaguars have won 5 straight, so I'm not going to be factually correct in this, but arguably the hottest team in football from an offensive standpoint, the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think the reality of this game for the Texans, because it's a big game, you win this game, boy, you are in every conversation, both for the division, because I think San Fran beats Jacksonville, and for a wild card spot. There's no doubt about that. they're going to have to score. Because I don't think the Texans defense is putting the clamps on the Cincinnati Bengals offense.
No, I don't think so too. But I have in my resume pretty much protected a rookie quarterback. When I got to the Jets, I had Geno Smith, and I remember verbatim when we went into games, especially the first game against Tampa, because that was when Revis had left, right?
Right.
There was a lot of talking about making Revis comfortable, not Revis, Geno Smith comfortable early. Get the kid comfortable, make sure he sits in the pocket, sees the field, make sure there's not a lot of things in his face. What makes C.J. Stroud so special, he's really poised, right? He's not only poised, but he's commanded the offense. He had no turnovers, threw for over 400 yards last Sunday. And when you're talking about what he does really well, is he's able to extend plays just like Joe Burrow with his legs. So he looks like the complete package right now early in his career. And he's a big-time quarterback.
And the other thing he's done really well, which belies the fact that he is a rookie quarterback, is he does not turn the ball over.
Wild.
And it's one thing if you say that after a month, but here we are going into week 10. That is not a misprint. This kid, and they do throw the ball a lot. Has one pick for the year.
Just think about tip balls, balls bouncing off at the line. Like a lot of quarterbacks eat interceptions that are not necessarily their fault.
That's right.
Lots of them do. To have one is crazy.
They only had 3 wins last year.
Right.
Like
that's saying. I mean, they got lucky because Bryce Young went to Carolina. This kid was the most NFL ready for right now.
Yep.
And they're a very well coached team as well.
I do want to put, every time we mention this team, I do have to say this, though. They lost to the Panthers. The Panthers have one win, and it is to the Texans.
And by the way, that might be the loss that keeps them out of the playoffs.
It might be. It might be. Moving on to third and football. This had me thinking about Goff as a whole, because he was sort of like someone that we kind of snickered at early in his career when he was with the Rams. Is Jared Goff the most underrated quarterback in the league right now?
Him and Kirk Cousins when he was playing, yeah. And that's why I've been on the Jared Goff wagon ever since he went to Detroit. Don't forget, he went to Detroit, and you can't knock it. The Rams won a Super Bowl the next year with Matthew Stafford.
Of course.
So the trade, really, in a very rare occurrence, has worked out for both teams. Mm-hmm. The Rams got their Super Bowl. They sold their soul for it. But they got their Super Bowl, so I can breathe for the next decade because I got the ring. And the Detroit Lions now have, for the first time in maybe ever, but certainly a very long time, a really good quarterback. And I'm not knocking Matthew Stafford. All his success was regular season. He had no postseason experience with the Detroit Lions. You have a guy now that is balling his butt off, and they are going to be in the playoffs. They are going to win the division. Stafford never did that. Not that I'm knocking him directly, but I guess I am. And now you have a guy who, like Staley said, and don't forget, Staley was the defensive coordinator of those Rams teams starting back in 2020, and obviously knows Goff before he got traded. And to me, it's one of the great stories. And because he's in Detroit, he doesn't get the attention that a lot of people have. He's also not out and about. The biggest story about him off the field is that he's got a hot fiance, Christian Harper.
I knew it was coming. I was just like, come on, let's get it out already.
And this is when I knew that Jared Goff was going to be successful in Detroit. When you're a beautiful model in your 20s and you're dating a quarterback, you could probably get any quarterback because you're gorgeous, right? Sure. She had a life decision to make. And I mean this sincerely. Just follow the bouncing ball. When her boyfriend at the time got traded to Detroit,
from LA.
From Tinseltown. She had a decision. Stay in Hollywood, where I'll be fine, right? Or go to Detroit, where you can't drink the water.
So you're saying the love is real?
So when she said, I'm all in, I'm going to Detroit, I adopted Jared Goff as my favorite non-jet quarterback. That's my guy. And it's real. That's when I knew that, I knew that Jared Goff was a stud that wasn't getting credit for how good he was because, he lost the Super Bowl. That dude's money.
Yeah, he was a stud up until the Seattle game at home when he threw his, first pick in so many games. Yeah. And overall, man, he's done a great job of just really extending this offense to the point where they're respected nationally, right? Like when you talk about the Lions, you don't just talk about the defense, you talk about them what they can put on the board. So I love Jared Goff. I think Man Campbell, a.k.a. Dan Campbell, has done a great job with him, allow him to be the face of that franchise and the leader for that team.
One of the things that Craig brought up, I want to just hammer home again. During the trade, the trade was Matt Stafford acquired by the Rams. And it was like, all right, we're gonna give some pieces over there, and Jared Goff might be a Band-Aid that can bridge the Lions until they draft the quarterback.
And he was traded because it matched the money. That's why I meant.
Yeah, it was like the idea was not, hey, we're swapping starting quarterbacks because we think it's going to work for both of us.
And he said he took it personal,
right?
100%. He
manifests itself in the
I brought
field.
this team to the Super Bowl. Why am I the way the one out the door? So he's been playing. He's been doing great.
Detroit, big game obviously this weekend. A chance though they're going to win the division. With all due respect to the Vikings, who have this great story now with Dobbs, the Detroit Lions are probably going to have a home playoff game as well. Hey there! Thank you so much for watching the Carton Show. You can subscribe right here to get all the latest bits and segments from the show. And by the way, while you're at it, we have a lot of great shows on FS1, so check them out too.